What's up? What's up, my day ones? It is October 15th, officially the middle of October. And how did we get here? It is incredible to think that whew, we are just 2.5 months away from the end of the year. And I know some of y'all are like, just so will you just cut it out right now? We don't need to hear that. I get it. I get it. But and if you don't know, then I am going to inform some and remind others that this is the Day One podcast. And the Day One podcast is all about holding you accountable to doing the things that God has put on your heart to do, whether it's writing a book or starting a business, right? So if you don't know who I am, I'm just talking Danilla. I am the publishing strategist, creative coach, Ready Writer Services. And I am your host here on the Day One podcast. I am all about books and business. That's what I do. And so being on this podcast, I'm bringing in all types of amazing women in different areas of either business or with their books. And these are women who decided to say yes to God's call, to the purpose that He put in their life before they even stepped on this earth, and sharing those very, very real stories. Because I think it's easy for us to say, yes, right, I'm going to do the things that God called me to do. And then we hit road bumps and we get unexpected curveballs thrown at us, right? And we get hit by the ball pretty hard. And some of us don't get back up. So there are others who, in spite of the bruises, in spite of the bumps, in spite of all the things coming at them, they press, right? And this is not to condemn those of us who are down. This is to encourage you to say there is somebody else who is going through what you're going through or has gone through what you're going through right now. And they pressed. And it's not that they're special. It's not that they are this, other amazing, gifted. They're gifted, they're talented. Yes, but so are you. And when these women share their stories here, the purpose is for you to look at yourself and say, why not me? I can do that too. I can press. I can move forward. I can overcome because that's who you are. So that's the heart behind the Day One podcast. And today I have a very special guest. I know I say that every time, but I do have somebody who is near and dear to my heart and who loves God. This woman is a mother. She is a ministry leader. She is in ministry, loves to serve at her church. She loves her children. She also loves business. She's in the marketplace, and she believes that marketplace and the ministry can be combined. And so I am excited to introduce this chick. She is a Patterson girl, born and raised, Latina, loves her culture, and how fitting that on the last day of Hispanic Heritage Month, she should come on here and share her story. So, if you don't know who she is, let me introduce you to her. I am your guest today. I am my guest today. Giselle Quintanilla, a girl from Patterson, of Peruvian parents who grew up in the hood and went to school in Bergen County, though. So if you're familiar with New Jersey, Bergen County is Definitely different from Patterson, I'll tell you that. It's like two different worlds, right? So I'm here today, y'all, because it is October 15th, and in exactly 2 days, I will be celebrating 7 years. 7 years in business. And I wanted to share that. I wanted to speak to you guys directly today because there is a story that I want to share with y'all. And it's how I grew up. It's how I grew up. It's everything about me that now, years and years and years later, I'm not telling you how old I am, but but years later, it makes sense. All of it makes sense. How I grew up makes sense. The things that I could do and couldn't do makes sense. Where I fit and where I didn't fit made sense. Everything about me growing up Hispanic makes sense now. So when I was growing up, I tell this story to a few people whenever I talk about the fact that I read and write and speak Spanish fluently. And I don't say that to impress anyone, but to impress upon others the importance of understanding another language and writing it and reading it and speaking, especially as a Latina, especially as a Latino. It is so important for us to know our language. And so I didn't realize that though, right? When I was growing up, my parents, they put me in a daycare that was primarily Puerto Rican, all Puerto Ricans in the daycare, the teachers, everybody. And so, so I learned to speak Spanish very quickly with them and with my parents. And I spoke Spanish, and then they put me in, and I spoke English, right? Because they also spoke English in the daycare. So I have both. So I really legitimately, I say this all the time, I don't really know what my first language was. I can't say it was Spanish or English. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask my parents. I really don't know. Um, they spoke very little English, and they're better now, of course. They speak English now. But, it's interesting growing up and learning languages at the same time. And even being in the daycare and, speaking how Puerto Ricans speak as opposed to how Peruvians speak, right, which is in South America. So it's different words, different verbiage we use. But I really didn't grow to appreciate the fact that I spoke both languages. There's a lot I didn't appreciate. So, when I was growing up, my parents didn't let me speak English at home. And I had to only speak Spanish. And then when we had family come from Peru, they would bring these like books. They're like little workbooks that have Spanish, like it's all Spanish, right? And when you're trying to learn how to write and read all the stuff, like I remember they would bring me these workbooks and I would have to do that. That was like part of my homework was doing these workbook activities in Spanish so that I can learn how to read and write Spanish. And then they would have me read magazines in Spanish. Like these are things I had to do, right? So as a kid, you just see it as more work. You don't see it as like, oh, I get to learn this other language. You see it as this is more work I have to do. But I did it, right? And today I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I get to write books in Spanish, translate English books from English to Spanish, right? I get to do those things. I get to translate even for my people, even where I live. There's a lot of people from El Salvador and Guatemala where I live. And whenever I see that somebody is struggling, I get to step in and help them with that. And that's something that I don't take that for granted. I don't take that for granted. I remember, um, real quick, I remember taking my kids, this is before I had the business. I would take my kids to school, and there were, they had a couple of friends who were from Guatemala. Their parents did not speak English at all. And so because they were little, they were like in kindergarten, I would have to translate what the teacher was saying to the parent about their child, right? And it was never a bother to me, but it just helped me understand that what my parents did, that was a gift. So then heading into grade school was an interesting shift, because now it was like all English, right? And even though I knew English, understood English, I took the language very, very quickly, both languages, right? But I was sent to ESL classes. And me and my brother joke around about this all the time. So something people don't know about me is I in grade for the better part of my first years of grade school, I had to go to this trailer that was next to the school building to take ESL, English as a second language. And I would sit in these trailers, and I remember just looking at these papers with English activities, right? English words and things. And I would be like, why am I here? Like, I didn't understand. I didn't understand why I was there. It's funny now. It's funny now. And but I think that that also in a way formed my love of the language. I think it all, you know, God worked all of it so that I could do what I do today. So, went through and all through grade school and high school, I excelled in English, right? And I didn't have to take Spanish. So another thing, my parents also in high school did not let me take Spanish. Like, I could have easily been like, this is a course I'm going to pass with flying colors. Let me go ahead and take this Spanish, and then I can focus on my other. They were like, absolutely not. You know Spanish. Go learn another language. And I love, you know what? I love them for it. I love them for it. I did. So I ended up taking French. I think 3 out of the 4 years of high school, I took French. So, je parle français aussi, just very, very little. But I'm grateful for that, right? So so yeah, so then, I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to say that the reason I'm sharing this is because a lot of times, and maybe you're listening to this, and I want to encourage you to think back to your childhood and think back to how you grew up, where you grew up, how your parents were, or whoever raised you, your family. And think about not so much taking those things that were not the best, um, and honing in on the negative perspective of them, but thinking through how those things all add on to who you are today, or who God is calling you to be today. Because last week, I had the honor and privilege of being invited to career day at a school, an elementary school in Camden, New Jersey. So shout out to Kramer Hill Elementary, the Mastery School. I was there, y'all, and I will tell you, going in front of sixth, seventh, and eighth graders is probably one of the scariest things I've ever had to do in my life. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, what are these kids going to think about me? Or, how, you want to always do your best, right? You want to always, give your absolute best, always excellence, right? But like, kids, you just never know. And as a mom of a very opinionated 12-year-old, soon to be 13, he doesn't always think I'm cool. Actually, I don't even know if he thinks I'm cool. But going in front of these kids and telling them, yes, I'm an author, a speaker, I have a podcast, and I'm showing them the books that I've been able to help publish, to help get published. And what I loved the most was how receptive they were to the fact that who they are, their background, their culture, their language, their family dynamics, all of it plays into who they're going to become when they grow up. And I love seeing them light up at the thought that they can be so much greater than they ever imagined, right? Because God has amazing plans for them. So, I really enjoyed that. And watching those kids, interacting with them, having them do the writing prompts, um, answering their questions about my career, what I do, what my day looks like. And then, a few of them, some of them asked even more questions, and they were telling me how they love writing poetry. One was telling me how, he used to write, but then stopped. And there was another little girl who was like, I want to be on a podcast. Like opening up those thoughts, it was beautiful. It was, for me, it reminded me, of when I was growing up. And I didn't have that. I didn't have career day. I didn't have a business owner, a Latino business owner that could, talk to me about the possibility of all the things that could happen, that I could do. I didn't have that. So I love that they had that. I love that they were able to meet a doctor, right? Dr. Jen was there. There was a doctor there. They were able to meet a coach that helps youth, right? My friend Gigi, like they were able to meet someone who owns their business and translates, actually does that for a living. That is her business and her calling with her husband, the Aliceas. Like they were able to meet people. There was somebody there who was in real estate, you know. Um, it's amazing. It's amazing all the professionals and business owners that they were able to meet and ask questions and just say, you know what, that could be me. Maybe that's something I want to do, right? Like it was endless opportunities for them. And I love that they got to see that. I really love that they got to see that. So it was incredible. And what it did for me, right? Because I'm sure, listen, I'm sure the kids were blessed, but when I tell you those kids blessed me, let me tell you what it did for me. It made me realize that as a Latina, I have work to do still. I still have work to do for our community. As a Latina entrepreneur who is fluent in the language, who adores the culture, who loves the food, I have work to do. And I went to work that night and that whole weekend. I was literally like in my room writing notes, writing on my whiteboard, using chat, getting ideas from chat. I was doing all the things. And I had a very real uh, conversation, a raw conversation with a friend last night as I was telling her about the downloads that God was giving me in conjunction with this visit to this amazing school with these incredible kids. And I was like, Giselle, you gotta, let's go. It's year 7 and we're only getting started. We are only getting started. Yes, I celebrate 7 years of Ready Writer Services LLC. Yes. And I thank the Lana for, helping me and pushing me because I'm here, right? And I thank Jasmine and Felicia because they trusted me with their books. Those were the very first books I got to work on before I even had Ready Writer Services. And so I am grateful for them, but there is work to do. And I am just getting started. And so as I celebrate these 7 years, my friend, I was talking to her last night and she said, Giselle, she said, you were the one who taught me discipline, who taught me time blocking, who, we got to do this, right? And I need you to go back to the basics. So she said, and she was so right. I was so busy letting everything else take precedent over the call that God put on my life. that I know he called me to. I know he called me to this. And I was letting everything else and everyone else take precedent. And this is somebody, y'all, you see me, people see me and they're like, oh my gosh, you do so much. You're always doing something. And, social media and all the, yes. And listen, and I'm not faking none of it. 100%. Yes. What I put on socials is the truth. That's me. What you see is what you get all day, every day. If you meet me, that's what you get. But even I was letting other things and people and sometimes family take precedent over what I know God told me to do, whatever assignment that is. And so enough of getting in my own way, enough of getting in my own way. There's work to do because it's not about me. It is not about me. And I don't want to disappoint God. This is not, this is not a knock on family at all or on people. That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying is I cannot afford to, when I leave this earth, I can't afford to go to heaven and meet God and for me not to have done the things that he had for me, that he assigned to me. I want to be that good and faithful servant, right? So I have to get back to basics. And I cannot afford to let the things of life take precedent over the call that God put on my life, the purpose he put in my life. I want to encourage you on this 15th of October. It's middle of October, y'all. You could be listening to this later, right? But what I'm saying is we're about to end this 2025 and we cannot afford to let another day go by where we don't do what God's called us to do, where we don't take those steps, get back to basics. I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one who let life just kind of, the whirlwind, right? And we kind of lost track and time is just going by. It's not going to stop for us. Before we know it, we're going to blink and it's going to be 2026, y'all. There is still time today. I want to encourage you. This is your day one move. This is your day one move saying there is probably like 10 weeks left, 10, 11 weeks left of this year. You got time. You have time. And God is the redeemer of time. Let's get back to basics. I'm getting back to basics. I have more work to do in Ready Writer Services, LLC. And I am believing God that it's not going to be by myself, that I am going to have a team. And we're going to come out here and we are going to do more. I'm excited about serving my Latino community. And I want to honor all of my Latino entrepreneurs who are listening, or, if you see this, if you're bumping into this on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, I want to honor you because you press through. You represent our culture and our people, and we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to pass the torch on, to do the most that we can so that those who are coming after us can see and go even further than us. That's what those kids at Kramer Hill Elementary are going to do. They're going to do more and better than me. They are, than all of us who were there in that room. And I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for our people. All right, y'all. So I wanted to share that story. And I hope that this inspired you. I hope that it lit something in you. Like I am flaming inside, ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get to work. I'm ready to finish this year strong. And I'm ready to take on 2026. And no matter what comes my way, we overcome. No matter what comes our way, we overcome. We're going to make every day count. We're going to show up every day like it's day one. All right. So listen, make sure you like, make sure that you subscribe for sure. If you're watching this or listening, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. Stay tuned for what's coming. So, November 1st is our next episode. I have an amazing guest. She really is phenomenal. I'm so excited. So excited about this next guest. Y'all are going to just love her. And it's not me. It's not me. This was just a hey, happy 7 years, but we still got work to do, Ready Writer Services. That's what that was. But November 1st, I do have an amazing guest. Super excited. She's amazing. What she shares is phenomenal. It's real. I'm telling you right now, and it's relatable. I know everyone's going to be able to relate to what she is sharing. But until then, make every day your day one.
What's up, day ones? I hope you enjoyed this last episode. Listen, make sure that you like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, make every day your day one.